should we wait until we get like a decent amount of people on?
Yeah, that's good. Do you want to test some volume?
Hi everybody, can you guys hear me? Just let us know in the chat if you can hear us and if you can see the screen, and yeah. What do you say?
I'm going to put a ping on the forum.
That's a good idea.
Can they not hear you?
Maybe they can't hear me.
Let me try it on my phone. Oh, they can hear us.
Okay.
They're just ignoring us. I'm trying to get started just introducing it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's get started with the assignment, and then maybe some people are running a bit late, but they can still watch it and maybe put it on a bit faster speed to catch up. Cool. Okay, so welcome to the. Oh, cool. Okay, Annika can hear us, so we've got some people on the chat. Welcome to the assignment 1 live stream. So the point of this session is just an hour, and we're going to go over the how to get started on the assignment, like anything that will be useful for you guys, and also just run through some of the additional stuff that we've given you guys to help you out. So yeah, should be pretty fun. Anyway, so here I'm on the home screen, so you can see that assignment 1 has been released if you scroll down a bit, and it's also going to be really obvious right at the top, pretty much from every page you can link to the assignment here. Cool. So let's have a look at it. And yeah, here we go. So it's called Soccer Bun. So if anyone doesn't know what Soccer Bun is, it's pretty much a kind of like an old school game that started off as this sort of really simple game you can see here, where you're moving around boxes and trying to get them stored. And you'll find that you probably know a bunch of Soccer Bun games that they're like kind of offshoots of Soccer Bun. So I think like there's a bunch that are really popular these days, like Bubbo's You, and like I think the sausage roll one too, Steven's sausage roll. Like, so if you played any of those, like they're more popular games. They're kind of like Soccer Bun games, but a bit more complicated. So yeah, you can check out the Wikipedia for it. And yeah, so let's have a look at the assignment. So it looks pretty big to start off with. Like we've got 4 stages to it, and there's also extension stuff too. But we've been pretty careful about breaking it down into a bunch of stages for you guys. So we've got 4 stages, and these are the 4 stages that will get you marks, and then the extension is no marks. And within these 4 stages, we've broken it down even further. So we have, so if you have a look on the side here, we've got stage 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and then that's the same for all of the following stages. So it looks like a really big assignment, and it will be a lot of work, but we've broken it down into stages. So each stage should feel a bit like maybe a lab exercise. Some of them smaller than a lab exercise, some of them a bit bigger. So if you're finding the lab exercises fine, then it means that like hopefully the assignment will be good too. Cool. Goose will I will talk about how to get help with the assignment, but for like to be really brief, like yeah, you can go to the help sessions, you can go to your labs and everything to get help. And if you don't know where to start, you can also like go to those places. But hopefully after today we'll go through some things to help you get started. You can ask more questions about how to get started too. Cool, okay. And so let's have a look at, okay, so I've gone through the 4, just like the layout of the assignment, and let's have a look at what you'll actually be implementing for the assignment. So I'm gonna go over to the terminal, and I'm just in VLab, and you guys can have a test of like, we've got a reference solution for you guys. So if you wanna give the reference solution a go, you can just type in 1511 and then /CS_soccerbun. So after running this is like our solution to the assignment, but we don't give you the code. You can just run the executable, and you can have a play around with how it works. So this should hopefully give you an idea of what it's like. So The assignment works in a couple stages. The first one is the level setup, which is stage 1. Let's go back to the stages and have a look. So first one's the level setup, adding boxes, adding walls, adding storage locations. So if we look back at here, we're pretty much like, it's like a level builder. If you've ever played like Super Mario, they sometimes have like the Super Mario level builders, and it's sort of like a separate screen. And then afterwards you can play your level. So yeah, let's go to stage 1. And here we've got a couple commands. We've got the W command to add a wall. So I'm going to add a wall in the top left. Cool. Okay, so that's position 0, 0. And maybe we'll add another wall over here. So that's row 1 and column 2. So I could do W1, 2. There we go. We've got another wall. And pretty much we've got this loop, this like command loop, which lets us just pretty much create levels. So let's see what else is on here. We've got S11, so that S is for storage. So we could do S11, and we have a little storage, which is like our little circles up here. And we can add a box at 1, 0, box at 1, 0. Let's actually do the box at 2, 2, just so that we maybe can move it around. Cool, okay, so we added a box in there. And we can even add in, like, just to make things quicker, we can add in like rows of walls. So I'm going to add in a wall from the 0, 0 position to the 9, 0. So here's 0, 0, here's 9, 0, and then we can use the capital W to go from 0, 0 to 9, 0. Cool, and that gets us in a bunch of walls. Cool, okay, so right now, it's not really a game. We're pretty much just setting up the game to be played, setting up a level. But this is all just stage 1. So yeah, and I'll just probably, yeah, we'll do a quick overview of like the stage 2, just so you can see how it all connects together. And then I'll go in more depth in stage 1. Cool, so yeah, the first one is the level builder. We have to pick a player starting location. If you have a look at here, like the player starts over there. So, oh, whoops. We can have a look at stage 2, and we're going to quit the level builder. So I'm going to do the Q command. I'm just going to make this a bit smaller because currently, oh, you know, that went away. Cool. So I'm going to quit the level builder and say like, this is my level finished. It's a bit of a weird level, but that's all right. And now we get to enter the player starting position. So I'm going to say the player can go at maybe this one over here. So that's 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 2, 3. Cool. Okay. So, yeah, and now we've finished both the level builder and the player starting position, and now we're up to, now this is when you like give your game to your friend and you're like, here, I created this level, do you want to go play my level? Like, this one's really easy, but you might make something a bit harder. Cool. So you've given it to your friend, and now we can use the WASD movements. So if you have a look here, we've got WASD, and this is for the player movement. So I think this is around stage 2.2, gameplay commands and player movement. So I can just walk my player around the board. If I get to a wall, it can't go any further. And then I could end up pushing a box and then pushing it onto the storage location. Cool, okay, then I've solved the level. And then that's the whole program done. Cool. So that's the main gist of like the whole assignment. So like pretty much like here's the reference solution, and you can have a play around with what happens in like little edge cases, like if you make mistakes, you know, adding the player where a wall is, things like that, and you can see how it interacts, but all of it's written down in the spec. Cool, okay, so that's a pretty brief overview of the assignment. And so if you guys have any questions with like the game, if any of it doesn't make any sense, let me know. And yeah, if not, we'll move on to a little bit of like sort of admin stuff around the assignment. So things like due date and how to get help and everything. Cool. Okay, I'll wait a couple seconds just to see if you guys have any questions, because there's a bit of a delay on the stream, but yeah. Okay, let's have a look at some of the admin stuff. So the assignment is due in week 7, Monday. So you'll get the whole of week 6 to do the assignment, which is the flex week, but it's probably a good idea to start a bit earlier. So at least try and start by week 5, because by week 5 we've done a lot of the content so that you can get started. Even right now we've covered content in lectures. That means you can start stage 1. So it's due in week 7, Monday, and someone asked before about how to get help for the assignment. So you can just go to your labs and ask for help. There's no like issues there with like plagiarism or anything. You can ask your tutor for help. You can ask, you can go to a help session and you can get help there. So they're just the regular help sessions that for everything. So here we go, help session. You can go to a help session to get help, or you can even post on the forum and you can ask about the assignment there. So it's pretty much the same. The only thing is that in labs you can do pair programming, where you can like show your friends your code, but the assignment obviously you can't. So but if it's just to do with a tutor, you can get as much help as like a regular lab. Yeah, and the last thing on the admin side of things is that we have given you auto tests. So here you go, 1.11 auto test, and every sub stage has an auto test. Here's 1.1's auto test, and then even the full stage 1 auto test. You can auto test the whole entire assignment. You can auto test as many times as you like, similar to the labs. And we also give you the give command to submit your assignment. You can submit give as many times as you like too. We'll take the last submission, and you can go find your submissions in the submissions tab if you want to see that too. Cool. Okay, we have a question from Wesley. What is the max line length for our functions? Cool. So this is like a style thing. So that's actually a good point. You've reminded me about style too, which I was probably going to forget about. So yeah, the max line length to be simple answer is it's 80. Complex answer is, make sure to check the style guide. So let's go down to the assessment part. A lot of this you won't need to read super in depth. It's like, don't use like plagiarism things, but the important part of it is probably stuff like the style rubric, so style marking rubric. There is a style check. Sorry, Goose, your questions just come through now. There is a style checker you can run, so I'll show you how to run that, and I'll run through the style too. So here we go. Here's the style rubric. This is literally what, if you're a tutor, you get given this when you're marking someone. So we're just going to follow this. So make sure you pretend to be a tutor and go through your own code, and you can follow this. So something like here, line length. Lines should be max 80 characters long, and just say you have a couple which are over. We might only give you we might have to give you 0 or 0.5 or something like that. And so in the labs, style doesn't affect your mark, but in the assignment it does. So let's have a look if it's written somewhere. Here we go. The assignment will contribute 20% of your mark, and then 80% of the mark is based on performance, and then the other 20% is from the readability of your code. So this is style. Yeah. Cool. And then I'll just quickly run through the style checker too. So Sophia's put it in the 1511 in the chat. So it's 1511 CS style CS soccer bun, and we've also pretty much at the end of every stage. So just say you're doing stage 1 and you've completed up to stage 1.4. Here we go. We've got 1511 style. We've got the auto test, and we've got give. Don't rely too much on 1511 style. Run it, make sure there are no mistakes, but you also have to check your code, because 1511 style is a little bit dumb. So it can't check for more nuanced style things that we definitely can take off marks for. Cool. So we've got another question about hidden test cases. So that's a good question too. So for stage 1, we've given you heaps of auto tests, and stage 2 even, we've pretty much written close to conclusive auto tests for these two. I've tried to think of every edge case that could come up. But we will add in extra marking test cases for all of the stages, and especially stage 4. We've been a little bit mean to you guys and only given you a couple auto tests. So they're more like sanity checks that your code is like at least not completely broken. And then you have to read the spec nicely. Make sure that your code is kind of like it's actually following the spec properly. And then you might have to do a bit of your own testing for the later stages. Definitely for the earlier stages, I've tried to be pretty conclusive with my testing for stage 1 for your auto tests, but I'm like, if you've got like a really weird combination of things which creates like like an edge case bug, then like it might come up in the auto marking, so you can still end up losing a couple marks for the earlier stages. So just make sure you're confident in your code, you know, confident that it works, and not just fully relying on the auto checker. So it's a little bit different to labs. Cool. Okay. I'll keep on answering admin related questions throughout the whole time, but yeah, these are really good questions so far, so make sure to ask more if you have any. If not, we'll move on to probably how to get started with the assignment. Cool. Okay. So there's a lot of text with the assignment. It might be a little bit overwhelming. Oh, actually, okay, I'll just answer this one last question about the auto test. Could I auto test the code for each stage? Yeah, you can. So here's stage 1.2, and here we go. If we look at this command, it specifically says 1.2 auto test. So you can change this to like 4.3. If you go to 4.3, it will also be a 4.3 auto test. And that will just only test 4.3. If you get rid of it, it will test all of them, and it just might take a bit longer to do. Cool. Okay. So we're going to move on to how to get started with the assignment. So I would suggest the first thing to do is just try and take a bit of time to just read at least the first part. So the getting started part, initial code and data structures, have a look in here if you're still a bit stuck. And then probably just through stage 1. It's a little bit of reading to do, but don't worry about reading like all of stage 2, 3, and 4 and extensions and tools. Like that's probably too much, and also a lot of this wording down here is a lot. So you know, you can just sort of pretend that you've started the assignment by like going on the, like you can have the, like you can feel good about yourself that you've started the assignment as long as you've just like read through the assignment, even though you haven't even opened a text editor. A code editor. So I don't know, on the light rail back home, just read from the start, and there's actually a lot of information here that will probably answer your questions. But we'll still go through it now, just to also go through the assignment, just so that you guys can get a bit more help at getting started. Yeah, so we've already kind of done this. Let's have a look at this part now, getting started. So here we've got a command to fetch the starter code, and we've given you a bit of a starter to go and say, oh, create a folder to put all of your stuff in. Hopefully you're not still coding in the base folder of your CS machine. Hopefully you've got some folders for like lab 1 and lab 2. Anyway, now's a good time to make a folder for the assignment. So here we go, creating your folder for the assignment, and then you can run this one. 1511 fetch activity CS soccer bun. So I'm just going to go to, I already made a folder called 1511A1, and I'm inside of it now. And then I can go run 1511 fetch assignment. Let's see if paste is going to work with VLab. I don't think so, so I'm just going to type it out. Fetch activity CS soccer bun. Okay. And if we do ls, now we have our CS-soccerbun.c code. So you're going to start from starter code. Don't try and start from an empty file. You can if you really want to, but it will just waste your time. And yeah, so this is really important. Get the starter code, and then you can just double check that the auto test is running by running the auto test here. So 1511 auto test, and then CS soccer bun. Cool, okay. And it should fail all of the tests because obviously you haven't written anything. I'm just gonna press Control C to cancel that because I don't want to have to run all of the tests. Cool. Okay. So here we go. This is the base part to get started with. And after you've done that, we can go and have a look inside of CS Soccer Bun and see what we've got to start off with. So I'm just going to open it up in VS Code. Cool. Okay. And let's just put it over here. Okay. Here we go. We've got another question. Are there parts of the specification which are not auto-tested? Make sure you read it carefully. Oh, they're answering each other's questions. Yeah. I think for stage 4, there's probably a couple of things that are not auto-tested. If there's something really obvious in stage 1 or 2, like let us know on the forum. But stage 3 and 4, you probably have to do it yourself. Yeah. And remember, you can also run the reference solution if you're not too sure. But I'm pretty sure most things should be explained in the spec, or at least feel somewhat intuitive. Cool. Okay, let's have a look at the starter code. So here we go. It's a little bit bigger than the any labs that you might be given, but pretty much here we go. We've got a main function which you guys will be starting coding in, and we've also given you a couple custom data structures to work with. Cool. So we've got, and I've given you guys, here we go. So we've got struct tile, here's one of our data structures, and enum base. Cool. And I've also given you guys 2 functions which are important. We've got init board, and we've also got print board. We've got 2 other little functions here. Don't worry about these too much. They're just like helper functions for my print board, for the print board function. So this one here, init board, is really important, and struct print board is also really important. Cool. Okay. So let's have a look at what's going on here. So is any of these questions important, Sophia? No. Okay, cool. And maybe hopefully they should be answered. Cool. Okay. So we've started off by giving you struct tile, board, and then rows and columns. So if you have a look back at the assignment, let's run 1511 CS Soccer Bun, and we'll just put a wall in at 0, 0. Here we go. We've got a big grid, and it's a 10 by 10 grid. And so this should feel similar to any of the 2D array stuff that you're doing in the in your lectures recently. So we've got 10 rows and 10 columns. So here we go. Here's our 2D array, and it's called board. So our array doesn't contain it's not like an int array, which is maybe the first kind of array you saw in lectures or tutorials. Our array has to hold, each square of our array holds a little bit more information than a regular int. So if you have a look, each board, so each one of these squares contains a struct tile. So it contains one of these. So in total, for here, there'd be 100 struct tiles because we've got a 2D array, which is a 10 by 10 2D array. Cool. So yeah, so each struct tile pretty much just tells us information about the board. And if you remember back to when we were playing the game, it was just things like, is there a wall there? Is there a storage location there? Is there a box? And things like that. Yeah. So we've given you a function to initialize the board. This just is kind of the equivalent of setting it all to be 0. But we've just made it into a function just so it can initialize things to the correct enum and the correct integer. Cool. Okay. And then I've just added a print board here to start you guys off. You might want to delete this later, but it just gives you an idea of how to run this code. So here I'm saying, okay, can you print the board so far? It's got nothing in it, but it doesn't matter. And then it asks for 2 integers here. And if we go and check out print board, here we go, print board, prints out the current state of the Soccer Bun board, and it will place the player on the board at position player row and player column. Cool. So here's player row, player column. We don't have a player right now because it's we haven't really done anything. We haven't asked them for the player position. So it's just I've just put -1, -1 there just to say like there's no player on the board right now. Cool. Okay. So yeah, let's see. We'll go into a little bit more depth about struct tile and enum base. And just sort of something to let you guys know, this is a really complicated function. You guys could probably have, you know, maybe we could have made a lab exercise that you guys do something like this. So it's not out of like your reach, but it's a little bit too long to like bother really reading every single line of this and understanding it. So just know how to use print board is probably the most important thing. And yeah, what to pass in as your parameters. So hopefully this example up here gives you a bit of a starting place. Cool. So throughout the game, you'll pretty much just be editing the board and then, you know, adding walls in certain places and things like that. Cool. Okay. Let's have a look at a little bit more in depth with struct tile location. So I've given you guys a bit more of an explanation here. So if you're still having trouble with structs and arrays, combining those two concepts together, hopefully this will solidify that a bit. So here's an example of the board, and let's have a look at like one individual part of it. So if we have a look, so let's have a look at like the position 2, 2. So that's just this position up here. So I can see that it's just a wall. And if we have a look at the enum, we've got the base is wall. If we look at the struct, the base of the struct is wall, and then there's no box there. So the box will be false. So if we have a look back here, so the base will be wall, and then the box will be false. So that's just for that one instance of the tile, which is this left hand corner here. And we can have a look at maybe this one down here. This one's kind of interesting. So this one will be where the base is storage and the box is true, because it's both a storage location and a box, like a stored box. So I think that's this example here. Yeah, cool. Okay. And probably the last interesting thing about this is that the player is not stored inside of the board. There's nothing to be like, oh, like, you know, board 2 and 3 dot player equals true or something. There's no player inside of the board. We've pretty much given you guys a bit more flexibility to just say you can store the player however you want. So you might want to create 2 variables to store the player row and the player column, and then you can update those when the player moves around. Or you might want to create a new struct which stores the player information, and you know, update that whenever you need to. But that's just stage 2 things. So if it's a bit confusing for you guys right now, for any of you, then don't worry. By the time you get to stage 2, I think you'll be a lot more comfortable with arrays and structs and combining the 2 together. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it for the starter code. Let's see if I have anything else written in my notes. And if you guys want to ask any questions with the starter code, make sure to put that in the chat right now. And if not, then, oh yeah, I have one more thing. Yeah, cool. Okay. So one last thing for getting started is that, here we go. Stage 1.1, setting up a level builder. Pretty much the level builder, like stage 1.1 is setting up the thing where you like add a wall and add a storage location. We're not even doing boxes yet. It's really similar to Simple Calculator for CS. It's Simple Calculator or CS Calculator? Okay, maybe we need to edit this. Maybe it's CS Calculator. Anyway, I'll find it for you guys now because it's like in this week's lab, so it will be really easy to find. So laboratory, and it's totally CS Calculator. Okay, that's my mistake. Yeah, so if we go down to here, it's a 2-dot exercise from this week. And if you have a look, it feels really similar. So here we go. We're adding in a, like, if you guys have done this lab, you know, maybe most of you guys have done it. It's asking for commands, and then we end in Control D, and then it's asking for like a character and then like multiple integers. And it kind of just happens forever until you ask it to stop. So give CS Calculator a go. see how it goes. You've got the audio test to help you do that. And then once CS calculator is finished, stage 1.1 of the assignment will feel really simple. It will pretty much be the same, but you'll just have to integrate it into the starter code that we've given you guys. So it might be a slightly more complicated for that because of that reason, but it's relatively the same as simple calculator. Cool, okay. And then the second thing is, yeah, we have to deal with 2D arrays in this assignment. So if you have a look at the week 4 lab, none of this is 2D arrays, but that's all right. You guys have started 2D arrays in your lectures, and we'll also go over 2D arrays in the tutorial next week. And we'll also have a bunch of 2D array stuff in the laboratory next week. So I think there's a lab question which is like print coordinate grid, which is like maybe that's a one dot with 2D arrays. So if you can do that, then you're well on your way to starting stage 1 for the assignment. Cool. Okay. Yeah, pretty good. Let's have a look at like some other things with stage 1. We'll just go through like a little bit more in detail. So here we go, stage 1.1, it's pretty much like CS calculator. We're going to add the walls and the storage locations. And let's have a look. Is there anything interesting here? I would say just like these notes here, sometimes like I do it too. I find it's really funny. As soon as you put something in like a box here, no one reads it. So read the things in the boxes. Like this one is very important here. We've got the space before the %C. I think a couple lab exercises have used it. So make sure you understand what this is doing and how it's different to not having the space there. But anyway, I guess we've already told you guys, for this assignment, you'll need the space. So at least for stage 1.1. Cool. And yeah, so stage 1.1 is pretty simple. It's just adding these two. And we don't ask you to do any error checking. So if someone asks for like a billion and -10, like put a wall at -10 and a billion, it probably will end up breaking your code if you've only completed 1.2. But that's all right. We don't test that for 1.1. And then in 1.2, you know, we ask for a little bit more. And we'll say, okay, now you can do some error checking. So, yeah, I guess make sure to read the clarifications because, you know, otherwise you might end up coding either too much or too little or something like that. So here we go. We only test for valid row and column values within the map during this stage. So hopefully that makes things a bit simpler for you guys. And then it means that, you know, once you finish this, it's all nice and working with the auto test and you can move on and then do the next stage, which is, you know, checking for the things that are in bounds. Cool. Okay. Yeah, adding boxes. I just made it a different stage because it's a little bit different. It's like working with a different part of the struct. Here we've got the int box, and it kind of interacts with the walls and the storage containers a bit interestingly. So for example, like if we try and add a box at 0, 0, it will be like it will override the wall, right? But then just say we have a storage container at 1, 1, and then we add a box at 1, 1. It doesn't override the storage container. And, you know, this is just because, like, you can't have a box and a wall in the same spot, but you can have a box and a storage container. That makes sense. Like, you know, that's the goal of the game. So there's little quirks like this with the box. So, you know, it's in a new stage, but you guys can, you know, read through this and figure out when you need to override things and stuff like that. Yeah. And we've given you a bunch of examples here. So like, yeah, I think this one's like overriding the walls like I just did. Cool, okay. And yeah, and then we've got the adding lines of walls here. So this is probably my mistake. I made the capital W and the lowercase w. I didn't realize how similar they looked. Yeah, there's a new command in stage 1.4, which is the capital W command. And so that's to add in lines of walls, so which I demoed at the start. Yeah, so we've got the lowercase w. So, you know, lowercase w at 3, 3, that's just a single wall. And then we could do like a line of walls. So maybe in row 5, go from the very start and then go to the end. So 5, 0 is over here, 5, 9 is over there. Cool, and that gets us a big long line of walls. Yeah, so I guess that's a good idea to, don't try and combine them, it will be really hard. So they're just different commands, different letters, or different ASCII letters. Yeah. Cool, okay, so that pretty much goes through the whole of stage 1. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll see if we have any questions with stage 1, and if not, then I'll do a little bit of a brief overview of the following stages, but I think maybe we'll also go and have a look at the extension and tools, because even though they're after stage 4, they're not necessarily for everybody who's finished stage 4. They're not just for people who have finished stage 4. That's what I'm trying to say. Cool. Okay. Cool. So we'll briefly go through stage 2, 3, and 4, maybe in 5-10 minutes. So stage 2, it's pretty much all about the player, adding the player's location, moving the player around. Here we go. We've got our WASD commands. If you don't know what WASD is, have a look on your keyboard and you'll see that it's like it looks a little bit like the arrow keys, like up, down, left, right. Sorry if anyone has a Dvorak keyboard. It's not going to work. Hopefully that's not too many people. And yeah, and just things like, other stuff to do with the player, how many moves it's done, wrapping around the board. So we have like a Pac-Man style board, and just pretty much everything player related. We've got stage 3, which is about moving the boxes, and some other stuff which is important for the game, like the win condition, and resetting the game. So pretty much after you've done stage 3.2, or even just stage 3.1, you've got pretty much a working soccer bun game. So as long as you can, create your level, add your player in, and then move some boxes around and stuff like that, you can pretty much like get to it feels more like a functional game. So here we go, win condition. Now this is just a bit of extra stuff. We're getting into the part where it's like, oh, okay, you've actually like created a pretty functional game at this point. Cool. Okay. And then stage 4 is for like anyone who likes to do the 3-dot questions in the lab, or if you've just like started the assignment early and you want to give it a crack. It doesn't use any stuff that's out of the course. You've learned all of the information to do stage 4, but it's really ramping up in difficulty. So we've got 4.1, which is an undo button. We're pushing multiple lines of boxes now, not just one at a time. And we've also got like this crazy linked boxes, which is pretty insane. It's a lot to code up, but it's fun. Yeah, so that's pretty much stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if we have a look at the assessment, you guys can have a look at like how they break it down. So if you complete stage 1 and a bit of stage 2, and you've had a look at, or if you complete stage 1 and stage 2 and you've gone over your style, you've already pretty much passed the assignment. So you can get a 65% if you've got perfect style. So that's already really great. And stage 3 is getting up to at 85, so 85 is a high distinction. And stage 4 is only the last like 15% of the assignment. So if you can't get up to stage 4, that's all right. Obviously, we don't expect everyone to get 100%, because then everyone would get like 100 in the course, which would look a bit weird. So don't worry if you don't get up to stage 4, like you can get up to stage 3, and that's totally fine. And if you completed stage 1 and stage 2, at least you can have a bit of comfort that you've passed the assignment so far. You've gotten above 50%. Cool. Yeah, okay, that's the overview of the stages, and we'll quickly go over the tools section and the extension section. So these parts are not marked or anything. They're just for your own benefit. So some of the tools can just help you code a bit more easy. Sorry, my English. The tools can just like help you with your coding, and the extension is pretty much just some fun. So Yeah, so if you guys have you guys notice that the code is set up into the, creating the levels and then running the levels. So as soon as if you wanted to like play this game practically, you probably don't want to input your levels every single time. So I've given you guys a bit of a guide for how to create your own levels and then store it in a file. So just like a text file on your computer. And then you can run CS Soccer Bun with your file, and it will pretty much start just from the playable section. So let's have a look at that in practice. So if we go to levels, I've created you guys some levels, and we can have a look at something pretty simple. Like I might go and open up heart, like 2.2 heart.in, and you guys can have a look at this. So it's pretty much just a bunch of wall commands, and then I've said, okay, quit and then add in the player location. So this is like not all of this is kind of like what you would put as input, but then I've finished it at where the player's like the player location is, and then everything after this will be like actually playing the game. So if I have a look at something like here we've got cat mylevel.in and then dash bar. Don't worry exactly what all of this means, and then you can run CS Soccer Bun. I'll just run it with the sample solution right now. So if we go ls, I've got my 2.2 heart.in, and then I can run this command here, cat 2.2 heart.in dash bar and then 1511 CS Soccer Bun. Okay, and then it pretty much like it does all of the stuff really quickly. It runs through all of the commands I gave it in the file, and now it's straight away in the part where you can play the game. Cool. Okay, this one's a really simple one. It's only for people who have completed stage 2.2, so maybe they haven't done boxes yet. So it definitely gets a lot more. You can make like more complicated levels, and ones which are like actually winnable. So, and then we'll do control D to exit. Cool. So I've given you a bunch of levels. Here are the ones that I've given you. They get you need to do various stages to get them to work. And I really encourage you guys to make your own, and then you can go and put them on the EdStem. So I've put a link to a discussion here. And so that's not logged in. That should be fine. Do you wanna log in, or maybe it's fine to do? Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, if you guys click on here, you guys can see it's just like an ed forum post that I made, and you can share your levels on there. Yeah, some of them can get pretty hard, like the 3.2, that's like a classic, classic Soccer Bun level. And it's like relatively hard. So I hope that you guys can make some like difficult levels, and then it feels satisfying to play it on your own game that you made. Cool, okay. Yeah, anyone can do this from like stage like 2.1 onwards. You can start doing this pretty much. So yeah. And it also might be good to, if you want to try and like run your code and you don't want to have to like input in your levels every single time, you can do this so that you can test your like movement commands, or you can test your moving boxes functionality without having to type in like add ball, add box or something like that. So it makes it a little bit easier for you guys. And the last thing we'll go over is the extension. So we've given you guys a way to start with SplashKit. So SplashKit is pretty much a way to add some graphics to your code. So you have to like install, check that SplashKit works, and then you can compile and run your code. And instead of using DCC, we've got a special SplashKit compiler, which will go and compile it with like all of the SplashKit code. So we've given you guys an example SplashKit file, and you can also just Google SplashKit and and if we go to SplashKit here, we can there's like a bunch of documentation here, so you guys can give it a go. It's not too hard, and there should be some like tutorials and stuff like that which will help you. I'll show you guys I've got the splash kit working for us. So I'll just quickly run through what it might look like. And yeah. Okay, let me just get the command going. Cool, okay. Whoops, no, sorry, cat. Cool, okay, so here we go. This is like the soccer bun game, but instead of like using the terminal to view it, I like, Tim wrote most of this code and then I like made it look cute. So, and then you can like, you know, play the game as usual. And it just adds things like some graphics. It means that you don't have to press enter every time that you type in a WASD command. And you can add things like music and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's see, is there anything else? That's all that I've got written down. So we've got until like, it's not exactly 5 o'clock yet. So if you guys have any last questions, please put it in the chat. Or, you know, if you're watching this afterwards, please add it to the forum, and there's, you know, there's a bunch of people talking about the assignment on there. Cool. Okay. So I guess we'll wait for another like 30 seconds to a minute for any last questions. Yeah, and if not, then thanks for everybody for coming, and I hope you got something out of it. And if you're watching this after the live stream, then yeah, hopefully it's useful to you guys. But yeah, good luck for the assignment. Cool. Should we put it on mute while we wait for some last questions?
We can only end the stream.
Oh, there's no mute.
Yeah, we'll
Cool.
probably talk about joint work and use of generative AI, just the generative AI section at the bottom.
Oh.
To the end.
I haven't read through this part. Okay, obviously joint. Yeah, okay, we'll quickly go through this. Joint work not permitted on this assignment. Yeah, it says it right here. So it's not like if you're doing pair programming, you can't do pair programming for your assignment. Yeah, you can talk about the assignment with your friends, yes.
Don't talk about code.
You can't talk about like the intricacies of your code, and you also cannot share code. So you can't like show your code to your friend. You can't like get them to like type into your assignment. You can't even let them have access to your code. Like, don't store your code on their computer or give your friend your ZID password, which is surprisingly common. And yeah, there's some stuff here about generative AI, so like GitHub Copilot. And if you want to use, we've got DCC help. So this is good for like debugging. You can use that. And but if you put it through like the whole entire thing through generative AI, we kind of know, because yeah, it's kind of obvious. We know what you teach. We know what we teach you guys. So if it's like really far fetched from what's going on in the lectures, it will be very obvious. But yeah, I guess everything should be written down here. Yeah, that's about it, I think, for everything. Cool. Should we end it now? Okay, I don't know how to end it.
I do. Just say good luck, everyone.
Okay, good luck, everybody. See you guys. Oh.
And we're good.
Yay!